Well, I need to welcome you back, and we'll see what the big story for today. And we're looking at the economy and more of its projection come next year, especially coming from no other but the central bank governor and also an economist, Bismarck Ruwani, indicating an inflationary trend. I really take a nosedive come the later part of 2024 and might even extend up to 2025. But what can we do to ensure all those predictions come to pass and not just like mere prophecies coming from those that prophesy, especially reverends and all? But how can we really ensure that that will be a reality? And look at some of the major indicators that will help to project that to be. All of that is what we're looking at. So we look at the forecast for 2024 Nigerian economic outlook. But still remember, he's right here with me looking at it and talking of our own economies, Mr. Gideon Oguns. But what we'll do in economic sense is for us to go on a break, get message from our sponsors, and when we come back, more discussion on the big story.
Oh, yeah, follow the road, auto better quality. If you talk gas matter, oh, yeah, follow Benetta. Gas with the better quality, Benetta. Gas where they full rich man to Benetta. Delivery brother na sharply, Benetta. For Benetta gas no mango, Benetta. Get different type of gas cylinder, Benetta. I mean, I gas we go last you well, na Benetta. For gas matter, Benetta now do Benetta. Gas service in a them they run, na Benetta. Benetta make you carry go.
For gas matter and home delivery, make you wire Benetta gas plant for 080-6745-7890 and 080-5904-7722. Benetta gas plant, the Etekwele of gas matters.
Well, it's something that truly matters, and we're talking about the projection of what it will be come 2024, and the economy seems to be taking center stage. Well, anyway, in case you're joining us, we've had more of it in the first half, looking at the projections coming from no other person but economist Bismarck Ruwani, and also the governor of the central bank, indicating that, well, come next year, we might really be putting smiles on our face, looking at a decline in the level of inflation. And not only that, but the Naira would begin to show some strength, which will definitely give us every reason to smile. And well, before we also went on the break, we talked about what Nigerians need to do also to see how they can really keep those smiles on their face come next year, which will be a question I'll be asking again extensively later, because it's not all about telling you how it is, but telling you what you need to also do to also ensure that you remain where you should be, and that's above it. But anyway, let's quickly come back to you, Mr. Gideon Oguns. Yeah, like I said, we'll still come back to the projections of a reduced inflation and what we need to do as people. But I quickly want to take you away from all of that and take you rather to the recent remark coming from the World Bank saying that Nigeria should increase the pump price of petrol to 750 naira per litre. Well, honestly, after that very response or that proposal, a lot of outcry came from various sections of the country. But my question, should we be taking advice still from the World Bank as it concerns this? Well, because what I asked, honestly, remember they were one of the first persons that were pushing, organization, that were pushing that we do something about the subsidy and the removal. And since we remove the subsidy, it has totally removed smiles from the faces of Nigerians. So my question is, should we go ahead with the advice, and what do we need to do to deal with the issue of the pump price of petrol, which is also an inflationary indicator come next year?
Mike, the World Bank, IMF, they are not Nigerians.
They are not Nigerians.
They work by the data that is made available
to them,
and sometimes they carry out their own service themselves. Now, it is a man who is putting on the shoe that can actually tell the pinch. We all said the policy of fuel subsidy should go, but it should have been done better than it was done. So I don't think the problem is the kind of advice you are given. The problem is what you do with the advice. They have given their reasons for why the fuel price should go to 800 naira. That's their own. But what are the realities that Nigerian government or the economic players should do? Instead of taking price to 750, what are those leakages, blockages that can be done? This government, or part of the inheritance of this government, was a turnaround of our refineries. So if, in truth, the Port Harcourt refinery owned by government is made functional and privatized, take note, made functional and privatized, and you make Warri to work within the second quarter and privatize, then the leakages of this refinery will have been gone and gone for good. That way, whatever we produce, if the market demand the market supply demands that the price be 750, Nigerians will be aware. But if it becomes necessary that the price comes to 450, Nigerians will be aware. The reason we cannot put a finger on why price modulation in the petroleum sector is not favorable to Nigeria is because it's FS dominated. But if we take the FS dominance away and we are now
just deal with the local.
And from what they said, if those who have modular refinery licenses don't make them operational, they will withdraw them. And so a few hands are already going back to work to see how then it comes to a point where even PMS will be an export commodity from Nigeria. If that be the case, why would the price go? We don't need to follow them blindly. Their projection is on the fact that if we continue where we are now, where it is import dominant, then the price will definitely go up because our naira is not strengthened, it's weakened by the day. And if we don't want to run back to subsidy, then the price will have to be adjusted to reflect what is happening at the FS. So their advice is very good, but the advice is not the problem. Those who heed or hear the advice should heed the warnings and do the needful.
Okay.
If we do that, it will not get there.
Okay. Now, what are really the drivers of the deflationary trend in 2023? Because this is the reason I'm asking. In a more surgical approach, what should this government, because once we know the major drivers of inflation in 2023, we'll know how to approach it. And in a more surgical approach, what do you feel this government needs to do to help also keep to that projection of inflation averaging 23.6% and falling down to 70%?
I took my time to look carefully.
Please.
Now, the first driver of inflation as far as Nigeria is concerned is food prices. Because everybody eats, whether the rich...
And funny enough, is even the reason it went to 28.2% for November.
The food inflation is a great determinant of the overall inflation. Now, what are the things that made food inflation in 2023 to go very high? I'll put them in three just for ease of this discussion. Number one, insecurity. We began this year terribly in terms of insecurity. It's been coming down anyway, but we know there are still pockets here and there. But it can't be the way it was in the opening days of 2023.
Of course.
Now, that means that more persons must have returned back to their farms.
By now.
The second that still will have affected the food inflation was the flood.
Yes.
There was so much hype. And if in truth the flood have come the way it was projected, no farmland would have been spared. But thanks to God, it didn't get to that point. Which means some of the things planted 2023
have been harvested.
Will be harvested or already been harvested. Okay. Which shows that there's going to be plenty of food
for us coming next
And
year.
if the quantity is much, then the price setting will
come
not
down.
go too much. So you see that for food inflation, nature or natural occurrences, insecurity were the major determinants of why it was going very rapidly, which, as both of us will agree, these two indices have been favorable to us
In
within the
recent
later part of 2023. So the projection comes from this data,
Okay.
and that's why you see that. So that's number one. The second one is energy. The cost of energy have become so high that, permit me to use an example. Look at a tricycle operator
Okay.
who desire to work for a day. Prior to May, he could make 5,000 and he will be smiling. Today, he makes 10,000, but he can't go home with 5,000. I don't know if you get the mathematics
Yes,
now.
yes. Because higher energy price.
So the energy crisis have not only pushed up the fare of the consumer, who is the passenger of the keke, it have also reduced the profit he makes driving the keke. That finally goes back to his home. All he earns now can only cook but a pot of soup. So you see, life, many more persons went into the poverty line below it. So that one is another serious issue. Again, why this projection? You now look at it from the fact that a lot of discussions are on to move to greener energy, solar power, blah, blah, blah.
Away from fossil fuel.
People are moving into, I still understand that the Siemens or the German people are still wanting to do something. Yesterday, is it Total Energies are saying they want to put in so much investment in that, and that's why I keep saying these are projections. If they actually turn out the way they should be, then the cost of energy is going to be affected drastically. And that automatically will come back to affect the keke where I started from. And if it does affect his cost of doing business such that it goes down, then his profiting will go up. Then his home can eat 2 meals. So, energy. The third and the final we want to say that drove our inflation is the FS.
Yeah.
The FS, the measure, again a very good policy, but not properly managed. Because today, the window between the parallel market and the black market, you see that it's getting narrower. Not to the advantage of of FS, but to this disadvantage. What we thought they wanted to do was move it a little near the black market,
so to
but keep it stable to reduce that
speculations.
Now the speculators are still having a free day. So policies, if I don't want to call it FX, the monetary and fiscal policies of 2023 were disjointed, where they started very well, but they were not properly managed, and so the speculators, those who benefit from such misdemeanors, took advantage of it. If they can close those gaps, then I am convinced that the projections can go the way they are trying to say. But if they leave it the way it is, we will destroy it ourselves. Again, I make an example. It's like someone driving a car and doesn't have a spare tire. And the tire, one of them happen to have a flat tire. Automatically the whole journey
will be cut short.
Or you are going to waste so much time in trying to take that tire, fix it, and return and continue the journey. So, maintenance of our policies, or drafting them in a way that the policies are properly yielding the desire. These two policies, the fuel subsidy removal, the merger of the markets, they nosedive from the purposes they wanted to attain. If they control them and bring them back, then
we might be
able to get that.
Yeah.
Let me add the fourth one since there is time.
Just a minute.
The foreign-dominated economists' advice, they should look at them using the Nigeria palace, the Nigeria paradigm. See, the Nigeria economy is not exactly like the Europe economy or the Britain-America economy. No. Those people are so advanced that at a click of a button, so much information and advices are there.
Yeah.
Here in Nigeria, you want to talk to a farmer in his farm, and you think he's going to get it through your mobile phone. You are wasting your time. Government should bring his policies to the people in a way that the Nigerian person can know what direction we are going.
Take.
Now, many Nigerians don't know. And so what do? He that is down need fear no fall. They are just stuck to their old ways. Nigeria economy have gotten to where we should redefine our priorities. Politicians should redefine their priorities. Households should redefine their priorities so that when we are stacked with the realities, we'll be able to do better with the little resource that have come. Lastly, they should not just dream of increasing petroleum and crude oil production. Let it be real. We all know this program has been so good at it for some days now. The opaque nature of the NNPC
has always been a factor.
The fact that we cannot, as Nigerians, know how much of crude oil we drain from our ground. I don't know how we want to start dealing with the issue of corruption. So I say corruption should either be dealt with or it will keep dealing with us.
Well, anyway, we'll still deal with the issues though, but we need to go on a break now. And when we come back, we'll really wrap things up on today's very interesting educative edition of our Quest Today. And when we come back, it's more like an advice on what Nigerians need to do to balance it up. And you know what I mean. Let's go on a break.